What's up, guys? Higgins in Japan here with another edition of the Friday video. The Friday video is the video that I make right here in my car on the way home from work on a Friday, and where I also don't use my turn signals. And it is the last day of school, and I'm driving home, and my beard looks a little messed up because I've been wearing a mask all day, and it was hot in the teacher's room, and hot in this classrooms, and hot everywhere. And I'm going home, so feel free to watch this video, brought to you by the cool merch store Higgins in Japan. Link in the description below, where my face is all washed out because we've still not been able to figure that figure that out. But yeah, so if you want to pick up some cool merch, 20% off if you use the keyword Friday vid, and maybe pick up something that has my name on it, or pick up something that doesn't have my name on it, because that's how I got stuff on there that if you want to not admit that you watch my videos, but which is totally cool because I don't admit to watching them either. We'll put on the shades. It's a little sun coming through the clouds action. But yeah, so last day of school, and was gonna make a different video, but actually legitimately, I know a lot of people say this, I've got a question. Legitimately got a question from somebody on Facebook or Twitter, and they DM'd me, so I'm assuming that they didn't want me to like say their name or whatever. But basically, kind of wanted me to talk about what was it that made me decide to move to Japan. Not just like why did you come to Japan, but like I came to Japan 2 times, if you didn't already know that. And so what, like maybe some specific things that happened during those trips that like really led me to say, hey, I think living in Japan is for me, or the desires that I have, the ambitions that I want to have in Japan, maybe that's a legitimate thing for me. And so yes, I will share those fun fact stories with you. No, but yeah, the first time I came to Japan was right out of high school, and I didn't really have, I mean, some of you probably have heard the story multiple times, but I'll try to throw in some little things that I maybe haven't mentioned before or talk about. But I graduated in 2000. I came to Japan right out of high school, and really didn't know. I mean, I was 18. I had no idea what I really wanted to do with my life. I didn't want to go to college. And my parents were very very supportive, and whatever makes you happy, and whatever you do, whatever you need to do to achieve your goals. And if one of those is go to college or not go to college, they were very supportive of me in that aspect. And so I didn't have any desire to go to college, and let me see if I can clean up this window a little bit. There we go. Get some of the pollen off. But yeah, so I didn't have any desire to go to college, and so when I came to Japan out of high school, I think it was pretty much like everybody's first trip to Japan, where it's like that honeymoon phase where like everything's perfect about Japan, everything's great, like everything was so awesome, it was Japan, like I was 18 in Japan, and so everything was perfect about that first trip, right? And so basing, like, do I want to live in Japan for the rest of my life, or for the foreseeable future? Do I want to work here, live here, start a family, do all that kind of stuff that people are supposed to do? Like, is that something that is feasible? And after 2 weeks in Japan, you can't really base, at least for me, can't really base your whole life off of 2 weeks, right? Yeah, it was fun. Had awesome memories that I still remember to this day. Things that I see or go places I do things at where I go, oh yeah, I was here when I was 18. Like that, stuff that stuck with me. So yeah, so maybe the first trip was perfect, right? And so you go, okay, what does living in Japan look like? Well, I was 18 and didn't want to go to college, and so I really had no idea how I would get to Japan, or how I would move to Japan, or even what that looked like or entailed. I think it was just a mixture of immaturity and just being 18 and not really knowing how the world works, right? Like not knowing how to get a job, or how to, not how to get a job, but like, how to get a real job and on all that kind of thing. So it wasn't until 2008, so 8 years later, I had the opportunity to come back to Japan, and I was in a different stage, obviously. 8 years later, 8 years older, I was in a different stage of life. I was actually in college at the time, because I was working as a youth pastor, and circumstances there led me from being just the assistant to being the full-on youth pastor. And so I felt the need that if I was going to be a youth pastor full-time, that I needed to be in college and kind of know, what I was doing, right? So educating myself and becoming better at being a youth pastor. And for a while, I kind of figured that I would be youth pastor for a long time. I was the youth pastor for 4 years at one church, and then 2 years in another church. And then, but this second trip that came to Japan, when I came to Japan, I was in a different state of mind, a different, stage of life. And so when I got here, it was very easy for me to see, oh, okay, well, if I change my major and do some other things and, change a couple other things in my life, then like moving to Japan is like a very feasible thing. And so I don't suggest doing this. Junior year of college, I changed my major. And so I stopped being a student ministry major, which is what I was, to a TESOL major, which is teaching English to speakers of other languages. And so those classes prepare you for teaching English in a country where English is not the predominant language spoken, right? So those were the classes that I focused on, and that was what I focused the rest of my college career on, was being a better teacher and learning how to. I'll use my turn signal at this light. I figure it's only fair. I skipped the last one. Again, making myself a better teacher, making myself learn about new things and learn about, how to teach reading to people, and how do you teach speaking to people, and how do you teach writing to people, like those type of things. So that second trip, I came back to Japan, and I was kind of weary, kind of unsure. It had been 8 years since I'd been to Japan. It had been a long time, and things had changed, and things in my life had changed, and relationships had changed, and so was all this gonna work out, And so I came back to Japan in 2008, and pretty quickly was like, no, my feelings for Japan are still here, right? My feelings about living in Japan and wanting to live in Japan, that still exists. And you can pretty much ask anybody that I worked with up until that point, because I was kind of one of those people that talked about Japan all the time, except I'd actually been to Japan, so I kind of had that advantage. So I was kind of one of those people that talked about Japan all the time and got a chance to go back again. And so it was kind of a test for me to see, okay, are those feelings about living in Japan still there? And they were. And so I come back from Japan after being here for 6 weeks the second time, and that's when I decided to change my major. That's when I decided to focus on teaching, specifically teaching foreign language, and finished out college. And then about a year and a half later, it took about a year and a half for me to finally get a job and move to Japan full time, but yeah, those were kind of the things that and the experience, the first time I came to Japan was almost it was almost like a sightseeing tour. We did some stuff. So I was going to a church when I was 18 that had some like church plants here in Tokyo, or not here in Tokyo. I'm not in Tokyo. Here in Japan, and so we went and like visited them, and we sang some songs, and we did some stuff, and I believe we sat in on a couple English classes on the weekends because they had English class on Saturdays at the school or at the church. But for the most part, we were kind of just bouncing around Tokyo and sightseeing and seeing different things. And so my second trip, I was doing more work. I was teaching. Obviously, it was having fun. Obviously, it was meeting new people and getting to experience a whole bunch of new things because I was in a different part of Japan. I was actually working in Japan and teaching and helping out at a school and kind of getting a little bit of taste of like what it would be like to work in a school in Japan, what it would be like to work in Japan. And so I think for me that experience was a lot more helpful, obviously, because now I'm a teacher here. It just helped me see like, oh, okay, this is what I could be doing, instead of trying to think of ways to, like, what would I do in Japan? I don't understand. How would I get to Japan? And all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, like being able to actually teach in Japan and work in Japan before actually moving here was great, because then I kind of, when I moved here, there wasn't this big shock of, one, there wasn't like a big culture shock, because I'd been here a couple of times before and kind of knew what to expect culturally. I mean, there's still things, every day or every week that kind of pop up in your head that you're like, oh, that's different from home, or that's different from what I know. But I don't think I ever went through the big culture shock that a lot of people do of what it's like living in Japan. So I think that was helpful, like just being here twice and being here teaching at least once to just kind of experience that before I actually did it. I think that was good. I think that if you have the opportunity to come to Japan, one, you should take it, and two, if it's possible for you to, I don't know, because it's visas are weird, and like you can't teach and you can't get paid for work during having a tourist visa and that kind of stuff. So don't obviously do that kind of stuff, but like if there's a way for you to kind of experience some of that stuff, if you're interested in teaching, or if you're interested in something, maybe try to find some way to kind of get in the door, like, of that field or whatever, to try to kind of experience it in Japan before you make the move. Because I've seen a lot of people, and this could just be for whatever reason, just burn out really quickly in Japan and lose interest in Japan. And I don't know if that's just because they've not experienced Japan before, or it wasn't what they thought it would be, or what they thought it should be, or any list of things that you could come up with. But if you have the opportunity to come to Japan before moving here full time, I definitely would do that. I definitely would say, hey, take some time to see what it's all about. Well, my phone died. Well, it overheated. It didn't actually die. So now you gotta look at my face full screen. Sorry about that. But hopefully that answered some of your question about my experience here in Japan and what it was like for me to kind of change my mind about careers and all that good stuff. Thank you for the question. And as always, if anybody else watching this video and you have any questions or comments, you can leave those in the comment section below. Or if you want to DM me on Twitter or Facebook, all the links to everything are in the description below. And so that's gonna do it. Have a good one, guys. I'll catch you later. Have a good one. I said that already. Whatever. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Peace.